Hey everyone, Dr. Vince Leone here, and welcome to this episode of Profit Niche TV. And we're going to talk about today um, how to present the different payment options so that we can help the most people move into care and take advantage of the amazing offers and treatment that we provide in the clinic. And I referenced on Monday's email about a very cool and simple and free tool to use called stripe.com, stripe.com. And now they still charge you a credit card processing of 3%, right? So it's not totally free, but everyone's going to charge you that. And what's really nice about that tool is, instead of trying to keep credit card information on file and all that good stuff, you just set it and forget it, essentially. Now, let's go ahead and dig into today's and what topic, and what I want to cover is, in the report of findings, after we've figured out that they're very much committed to getting the care. In other words, they really, really wanted to do this for themselves. They have the time after you've explained the schedule, and they have the support of the spouse. So this is what I would call the back half of the report of findings. I divide the ROF into two halves. Front half, which is that stuff, back half, which is basically financials. And so I'm not going to go into, verbatim on everything. I just want to cover, the actual financing options that we should that I recommend that you present to a patient when offering a care plan for like decompression or neuropathy or knee pain, something where they have to write a check or it's a self-pay situation, there's no insurance coverage. So I like what I call the 3+2. And so what that means is we're going to, the first option, super simple, right? You can pay it all up front and save 10%. Second option, you can pay half today, half in 30 days. Okay, so that's option number 2, and they save 5%. And option number 3, we go into outside financing. Okay, so care credit or benefits or healthcare payment solutions. I mean, there's tons of them out there. And I'm not a big fan of care credit personally. I had heard from a pretty good source that they don't like chiropractors, so that immediately kind of um, kind of skews my opinion of them. But they are one of the oldest, have been in the space one of the longest amount of times. Their FICO score is relatively high. I think it's 650. Now it may be a little lower than that, so who knows? But a lot of people don't have a FICO score of 650, so they can't get approved. So let's just start at the beginning, right? We're trying to, because at this point, it's just finances, right? We've taken everything out, because if they don't really want the care for themselves, there's no way, it doesn't matter what it's going to cost, they're not going to move forward, right? Because it's not important enough to them. If they don't have the time, right? If they can't fit it into their schedule, if they live 3 hours away, they're not going to move forward with care. So why talk finances? If they don't have the support of the spouse, why talk finances? They're not going to write a check for $5,000 or whatever it is. They're not going to do anything if they do not have the support of the spouse. And so ideally, obviously, the spouse is at the report of findings, and that goes back to setting up the whole appointments and all that good stuff. But as long as all that stuff's out of the way, then you move into the finances, and obviously, we'd love to get paid up front. You get the entire check for $5,000 or whatever it is, whatever you're charging, minus 10% as a bookkeeping fee. That's a pretty safe safe discount to offer patients in most states, and it doesn't hurt you too much, and it's very enticing for the patient if they have the money and they are really, really interested in care. They can fit it in their plan, into their schedule, and they have the support of their spouse. Why not save 10%? That's $500. So that's why we do that. I don't really recommend doing much more than that. Now, some doctors do, and if it works for them, great. But my recommendation is 10%. Now, option number 2, the 5% discount for half and half. Now, this is really helpful for people that are still working, right? So it's not the the retired folks. And it's good for cash flow reasons, right? So so that's why I like to be able to present that solution, especially for people under 65. And then option number 3, you're going to take typically a bigger hit on that, right? So I think care credit somewhere in the neighborhood of 14%. I think it depends on what plan they take and all this type of stuff. So the good news is you're not the bank. So if they qualify, you get the check minus 14% or whatever it is, and you're not the bank. So if they renege on the agreement, they typically can't come after you, as far as I know. Now there's one called, what the heck's it called? ClearGage, I think is what it is, where they'll come back after the doctor. That doesn't seem fair to me, right? If they're gonna they're gonna take the percentage and they are a financing company, that should be built into their operating costs, right? But whatever. So I don't recommend ClearGage because that doesn't sound great at all. So that's your three options, right? Now, if you get to that point, they can't write a check. They can't, for the full, with full amount with the 10%. Can't do the half and half. Can't get finance, and you still want to work with them, then I suggest using Stripe, right? But only two methods, right? So if now let's say the care plan's $6,000, just easy on the math and the mind because I got a little bit of a cold if you can't tell, because I'm a little stuffy headed. Point being is you say, hey, Mrs. Jones, so look, I don't want to let money stand in the way. I mean, obviously, I can't give away my care, but we do have a company called Stripe, and essentially there's no credit check, and we can just divide your care plan up into 6 equal installments, so that would be just $1,000 a month. So $1,000 starting today, and $1,000 each month for the next 6 months. Would that work for you? No. Okay. Okay, no problem. Hey, well, we do have one option left, and we don't typically do this, but again, I would love for you to get the care. You seem really committed to the whole process. We can spread it out over 12 months, so it'd be just $500 a month. Would that work for you? Now, if they say no, I can't do that. Can we do $100 or $200? I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's going to spread out so far that the chances of them canceling on you and bailing with very little recourse, right? I mean, you could send out, collections after them and all that, but what a pain in the butt. So I would say cap it at 12. If they can't do that, then they're just, unfortunately, just not a good qualified candidate for your office. Now, you may have different feelings and different opinions and all that type of stuff. I'm just telling you that's what I would recommend. So that's it, right? So it's super simple. I mean, there's an old saying that a confused mind will say no. So what we want to do when we present the finances is just super simple. Keep it as clean as possible, right? And if it works, great. If it doesn't, hey, I'm Mrs. Jones. I'm always here, okay? And what I've seen and in the past is patients, finances change, whether they get a refund on their taxes or they get an inheritance or they get a raise or whatever. The point being is I'm not going anywhere. I would love to help you in the future. Unfortunately, we can't do it now, but we have your information, and we'll make sure to just check in on you once in a while to see how you're doing and see if anything changed. How does that sound? Just try to leave it on a good note, right? Because unfortunately, we can't help everybody, right? And it is what it is, and it stinks when finances comes in the way, but that's just the type of society that we live in at this point. We have to pay for things that we value. So, and not everyone's going to be able to pay. Okay. And so we just got to get comfortable with that. So I'm Dr. Vince. I hope this was helpful for you, right? And you can start implementing this right away. Use those resources that we talked about. And if you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. Please subscribe to the channel. And I have a new website coming up very soon, drvinceleone.com. And I am going to be putting all this on the blog there, so it'll be readily accessible. Okay, guys, have a great day. Again, hope this was helpful. We'll see you next week on Profit Niche TV. Take care.